Good afternoon and welcome back to Regions Week, once again taking place all this week in Brussels in the heart of the EU. We are celebrating the 21st European Week of Regions and Cities with the theme this year of Thriving Regions for a Stronger Europe. Now, this afternoon's session is on promoting social innovation for a more sustainable, inclusive and social Europe. Social innovation, it's really all about positive societal change and how we can use innovation to drive that. It means developing and implementing new ideas, maybe new service models to meet those social needs and to create new relationships and new collaborations. So we can see it happening in things like working conditions, education and training, health and social services, community development, and even in tackling the critical problems that we see in society, such as poverty or discrimination. So it will involve all aspects of society, from public authorities to civil society, academia, and private enterprise. My name is Jennifer Baker. I am an EU policy journalist based here in Brussels, and I will be your moderator for this session, hopefully guiding you through and putting your good questions to our speakers. So let's start with a little bit of introduction and housekeeping. First of all, there will be interpretation available in English, French, German, Italian, Spanish, and Portuguese. You should have your headsets and simply select 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, or 6 for the language of your choice. We're also going to use Slido. It's a digital tool to help gather your thoughts for our panelists. So you can use your smartphones, go to slido.com and put in the hashtag EURegionsWeek, or get it out and scan that big QR code that you see on the screen behind me, and it will take you directly there. That hashtag, EURegionsWeek, is of course the hashtag we're using all this week for the event. So please do use that on social media channels, get people outside the room talking about how we are looking at promoting social innovation today. And if you want to talk specifically about this session, we ask you, please do use the hashtag social innovation as well to really create a buzz around our discussion. Because we're going to kick off with two high-level speakers who are going to focus on the role of social innovation in the EU and national policy making, and talk about how increased support for regions and cities can really promote social innovation. So, our first speaker, I'm very pleased to welcome to the stage Alexander Jevsek, who is the Minister for Cohesion and Regional Development of Slovenia. And joining the Minister, we also have Deputy Director General in the European Commission Directorate for Employment, Social Affairs and Inclusion, Adriana Sukova. Very warm welcome. Well, Minister, I said in my introduction that it takes a lot of cohesion, a lot of different people working together to really deliver the sorts of social innovation we want to see. So I'm going to hand the floor over to you. I know you've prepared your thoughts for us based on your experience, but not just in your current role as the Minister for Cohesion and Regional Development, but also in your time as Mayor. So please take it away. We're all really looking forward to it.
Thank you very much, first of all, for invitation in this event. Yes, as you said, I was a lot of years like a mayor and now like a minister, social innovator with my teams in municipality and with my team in ministry. Let me to read my speech. I prepare some information about social innovation in Slovenia, and I would like to apologize because the week of regions and cities are also opportunities for minister to have a lot of meetings, and I have another meeting, and apologize, Deputy, I heard very, very good thing about you.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay, dear representative of Commission and other EU institutions, dear participants, I'm happy to be here with you today, and particularly pleased to be able to participate in the discussion on social innovation and to share good practice in this field. The European Pillar of Social Rights reminds us of all the opportunities and benefits for our society and every individual within inside, especially for the most vulnerable members of society. Cohesion policy plays an important role in many aspects of our citizens' lives. Europa Social Fund helps young people, workers, and vulnerable groups, and improves quality of service in the labor market, health system, and education. The added value of social innovation, either on the EU, national, regional, or local level, is to collect the relevant data, provide analyses, implemented pilot projects, and share best practices and lessons learned among municipalities, regions, and member states to achieve the objective of reducing economic and social disparities. In Slovenia, we are proud of our innovations. Some of them can be rated as truly groundbreaking, while others are only innovate in the national context. Let me present some of the projects that we have implemented in Slovenia. We have successfully relocated 2 social welfare institutions with the help of cohesion funds. We have secured a new, more independent life for more than 200 individuals with mental health problems in Slovenia, where the system is currently based on providing care in institutional settings. The next one, we are also promoting intergeneration cooperation by improving the quality of life of the elderly with the help of volunteers and by introducing special forms of care that enable people with dementia to live as actively and independently as possible. Slovenia has been participating in the European initiative ALMA. We will provide a new start for many young Slovenians, even from the most vulnerable backgrounds, with the help of ALMA initiative. Rating talents is a particular challenge for less developed regions, especially for low and moderate innovators. In Slovenia, we are establishing a talent center with the aim to carry out a comprehensive analysis of accurate knowledge, psychological and motor skills of adolescents before they embark on their career path. Representative of the economy, educational institutions, and 5 ministers are involved in the preparation of the project. Another example is the project Pony N, entrepreneurial approach to challenge. The project has been implemented since 2019. It is a training program where potential entrepreneurs develop and realize their business ideas in only 4 months of employment with the support of mentors, external experts, and entrepreneurs via regional development agency. People with a business idea can be involved in the project, regardless of their age or level of education. The main purpose of the project is to establish new legal entities. Thanks to the project, Slovenia is richer for as many than 250 companies. We are also exploring many opportunities for socio-economic innovation in Slovenia when it comes to integrating the Roma community into society. We want to preserve their culture and tradition. Even more, the Roma people are very happy to share their culture and custom with the rest of the population through cultural and gastronomic events. And interesting, leading Roma representatives greeted Commissioner Ferreira during his visit last year with these words: "Welcome to our settlement. We also pay taxes." Social innovation takes time. The hardest challenge is to identify the best practice and to build from there. A major challenge after the recent devastating floods in Slovenia is to develop social innovation in working with people after natural disaster. It is not enough just to build new infrastructure. We also need to rebuild hope and trust of people in the functioning of social and solidarity-based Europe. Let me conclude by extending a special thanks to the Commission for its constant effort to keep the social dimension one of key priorities of the Union, and for bringing us together, like this week, with the aim of cooperating and ensuring better quality of life across the EU and for all EU citizens. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you, Minister. Good luck.
Thank you very much, Minister. Well, I think Minister covered a lot of ground there. I think setting out various different challenges, opportunities. So tell me, let's talk about what the EU does in support of innovation. Give us your opening thoughts and we'll see if there's follow-up questions, but let's kick it off with the Commission side.
Good afternoon, and very nice to have you here all. This is my 13th week of regions and cities, so I've always greatly joined the discussions because I believe that the exchange of information, knowledge, experience is fundamental for making the right policy decisions. So you asked what is the European added value in developing social innovation, and the title of this session is really telling a lot. Currently, the European Union political agenda is marked by the green, digital and just transition, but also by a number of very important demographic trends and several recent crises. And we cannot work and neglect what's going on around us. We have a war in Ukraine. We have recently, or still recovering from the COVID-19 pandemic, there are inflation throughout Europe and also rising costs of living. So everybody has their own challenge personally to manage their lives. And the transitions and the changes are also touching upon the world of work, world of education, training, but also delivery of social services, and to the very personal way of our life, our behavior as consumers, as citizens, and also participants in our societies. Responding to these challenges requires new solutions, new ways of organizing and delivering services, but also new ways of civic participation. And when we asked what is social innovation is anything new, anything which has not yet happened in your territory, in your country, or anything that may have been well developed somewhere else, in another country, in another region, but it is still not tested and implemented horizontally in your region or country. So it is a very broad concept. But what is the basic principle of social innovation is finding together new ways of generating positive change. And this is really the starting point of social innovation. A lot of programs and funds support social innovation. And of course, I will start with European Social Fund Plus, which is our main funding instrument in support of people and human capital, also social inclusion. And we have a special focus on social innovation, identified as one of the major and key requirements for all member states to program a minimum or no more than 5% of social innovation with increased co-financing by the EU budget, so that there are certain incentives in everybody to think about, all beneficiaries to think about what are the projects, the innovative approaches they want to test, and they'll have some additional financial incentive to implement that. We have already the completion and fulfillment of the programming for the 21-27 period, And within the European Social Fund Plus, we have approximately 2 billion out of the 100 billion of the total amount of ESF. 2 billion is programmed for social innovation measures, which is quite interesting. And we believe that there will be a lot of interesting, challenging examples to be shared with everyone else. And I'll speak later about how we are going to do this exchange in practice. The European Social Fund Plus for the 21-27 programming period has one component, which is the previous Employment and Social Innovation directly managed program by DG Employment. And this program has about a bit more than 100 million euro every year for activities and measures and projects that we directly fund. The European Social Innovation part of the ESF Plus program focuses also on the initial stage of social innovation and provides funding for social experimentation. We have biannual calls for social innovation projects which member states or consortia of member states apply and implement in 1 or 2 years. But once these projects have been done and they have been successful, the challenge comes to replicate and scale up so that if there are similar challenges identified by local authorities, by beneficiaries, national partners, then these already tested solutions can be taken up and implemented, which we expect will lead to systemic changes and also sustainable solutions of existing problems. I'll speak briefly about beyond ESF, beyond the European Social Fund, to more broadly the regional policy funding, because we have the Interreg Europe, where there are projects and possibilities for social innovation, and also URBACT programs, which tackle the issues of cities and regions with the very specific funding provided to that. The European Urban Initiative, which is under the European Regional Development Fund, also directly managed part of it, is also providing 450 million euro for EU-wide urban experimentation and also support cities that can demonstrate their potential for social innovation and transformation with the active involvement of partners, civil society organizations, social partners, and so on. So we have different means to provide financial support, but there should be good ideas to be implemented and also good beneficiaries and project promoters to accompany the implementation. I mentioned the European Social Fund Employment and Social Innovation strand, and there we have also identified a specific budget of almost 200 million, which we implement under the so-called European Social Fund Social Innovation Plus initiative. The activities which will be covered under this indirectly managed part of the European budget are in the area of employment, education, skills, and social inclusion. And we are happy that we have as a partner identified the European Social Fund Agency in Lithuania, which is our partner for organizing and all the work of it being an European Competence Center for Social Innovation. The European Social Fund Agency is currently working on organizing transnational calls for, I'll inform you about which topics, for the creation of a knowledge sharing platform to enable mutual learning and also sharing experience, and also to run 5 communities of practices where member states voluntarily join and work with other member states. The calls for proposals that we have already launched are linked to the preparation and implementation of the ALMA initiative. The minister mentioned that Slovenia is one of the member states who have identified this as a priority. So we will be working in setting up a network of member states where the ALMA is implemented. I'll explain that's an initiative which addresses most vulnerable young people, helping them with support locally in the member states, profiling their experience, education level, knowledge, helping them identify what their interests are, helping them also, guiding them to an external, in another member state, traineeship or apprenticeship. And once they're back, they also get support to find a job or to continue their education or start their own business. So this is one very much focused, dedicated initiative, which we hope will be one important change for people, young people coming from vulnerable backgrounds. The other call for proposal is linked to social innovation for the upskilling of young people who are not in employment, education and training. And you know that this has been a big challenge in the last 10 years already, with needs being double the level of unemployment in the EU. And still, it's a difficult group to activate. It requires special attention, so there is scope for social innovation in such specific cases. The next call for proposals will be about societal consequences of the war in Ukraine in the European Union, and member states will be working on projects in this area. Then we'll have one call for supporting the capacity building and further development of national competence centers for social innovation. So far we have 23 countries in 6 consortia who have applied for the creation of such national competence centers, who will be helping potential beneficiaries and project promoters in the area of social innovation. And one forthcoming call is zero long-term unemployment approach in local circumstances. I mentioned that the agency implementing the Social Innovation Initiative sets up a knowledge-sharing platform which offers mutual learning, capacity building and networking activities for the European Social Fund Plus managing authorities and relevant stakeholders. And we also have 5 community of practices on employment, education and skills, on social inclusion, social innovation, migrants and material deprivation. So the European Social Fund Plus agency is a very important partner for the implementation of our social innovation measures. We have a social innovation map, a match, which is a database aiming to promote the transfer and upscaling of social inclusion projects across the EU. And it's accessible, but also it's possible for social inclusion stakeholders to upload successful projects and get in contact with project promoters across the EU. I'm conscious about time, as usual, and I would like just briefly to refer to 2 very important policy initiatives. The one is the Social Economy Action Plan, which was adopted in December 2021, which entails a series of actions seeking to enhance social innovation, support the development of the social economy and boost its social and economic transformative powers. And recently, in fact in June, we adopted the Council recommendation on developing social economy framework conditions, which will help member states develop the right legislative and other requirements to boost the social economy and also social innovation in member states. It is adopted. It was confirmed by the EPSCO Council on Monday, 9th of October, and it will be formally adopted in the end of November. One of the action plan's elements is also the creation of a social economy gateway, which is a one-stop shop for additional resources or to identify, having a good idea, which is the best source of funding to implement this idea. I'll stop here, just looking forward for the presentations of good social innovation projects from Denmark and from Ireland and Poland. And I think that there are a number of very good social innovation projects which can really make a change in our economy and society and make Europe a better place for everyone. Thank you very much for your attention, and I'm ready to, I'll stay on the stage throughout the discussion today, and I'll be very happy to hear your views, but also questions. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much, and for excellent timekeeping. I had a couple of follow-up questions, but I'll hold on to them in case we need to your input later on, because, as you say, we're going to hear from some practitioners. We're going to hear from practitioners from Ireland and from Poland. And I will encourage everyone, once again, we're just using the Slido tool for your questions, so please use that. Use the hashtag EURegionsWeek and get those questions coming in, because we will have time for a discussion. So with that, I am going to invite to the stage our practitioners who are going to tell us about their projects and what's keeping them going during the day, what's keeping them awake at night, how they are working for a more sustainable, inclusive and social Europe at their own grassroots, if you like, level. So first up, I would like to please welcome Austin Campbell, Executive Director of the Robert Emmet Community Development Project in Dublin in Ireland. Next, we have Arkadiusz, who is Arkadiusz Borisevich, who is Vice President of the Foundation of Science for the Environment in Poland. So, our first topic that we're going to focus on is the identification of social needs and the innovative approaches and the setup of these social innovations. So we're going to look at the beginning. We'll come on to the lessons learned and the practicing a little bit later on. But first of all, I'm going to get everyone to please warm themselves up and warm up their smartphones with a Slido question to everybody, so you can all answer this. It's a question about what comes to mind when you think of social innovation. Let's see, we want you to think about what comes to mind when you think of social innovation. That could be society, it could be collaboration, it could be education. So we want you just to free-form, think about what you want to put in that space. You can go to slido.com on your mobile phones or your tablets if you're joining us online, or you can scan the QR code that you see on the screen to take you to the correct poll. I'm seeing on my tablet that, we haven't got any votes yet. So I'm guessing that it's a little bit tricky to come up with an answer. It's very hard to do it in one word. Creative solutions is definitely one of the ways in which innovation can happen. Changing behavioral habits is another way. We talk about social change, but we want, as we always say, at the EU level, a green and just and digital change. We want to see new social practices impact global well-being, of course. Earlier today on this stage, we had the mayor of Lviv from Ukraine, so it's not just within inside our own borders that we think about social innovation. Hard work, yes, and a lot of that still to be done around Europe. We want to talk about integrating technology, citizen-centered services. That's something, again, that was here a lot about when we talk about digital transition, about how people need to be at the center. And cooperation, I also see there collaboration, which I guess is much the same thing. People, transition, social mentoring, intersectionality, all of these words interlink together very well, I think. So thank you for those words. We're going to start with another question. We're going to try and do this a second time and ask slightly more differently, what would you need to stimulate social innovation? So if we want all these nice things, we want co-creation, we want cooperation, we want it designed by the public and done by private, or better solutions, what are the things we need? I know many people will say the answer is always funds. We need more resources. But do we need other things like a new mindset or a new or a new education or skills or training? I think we need to close out this question and go on to the next question, because people are still putting in more and more ideas, and we're glad to have them. But let's see, what would you need to stimulate social innovation? I'm not going to type because I'm too busy talking, but I think I would put in things like skills and training, which I know is something
funding.
that's big. Funding, of course it's funding. Open minds and ideas, again, those go together.
Well.
Tolerance and partnerships, those are both good, and they work together, I think, very, very well. Capacity building, again, this is something about resources, citizen engagement, communities, supporting the ecosystem, policy that enables, not hinders. The changing of a mindset, I think that's coming up again in certain other ways of saying it. So ideas and open minds are also ways of saying the same sort of thing. Citizen engagement, cross-sectoral collaboration, cooperation, partnerships. I think we can say there that all of those interlink very well. They don't always directly overlap, but I think there's probably, you could probably distill that down to about 6 or 7 key ideas, and funding is only one of them. It's not the biggest one. I'm very glad to see that for a change, that we're not just asking for more and more Commission resources. Okay, that's quite a lot we've gone through for that. I want to turn now to your specific projects, and I know, Austin and Arkadiusz, we have videos to outline what your projects are about. So I think, Austin, we're going to start with a video on your project, which is, you're involved in 2 initiatives co-financed by the European Social Fund, In Our Shoes Walking Tours and B8, and both of those are in the wider context of the Robert Ennett Community Development Project. Social enterprises which actively engage the community and provide platforms to individuals from a disenfranchised community and giving them access to training and employment opportunities. So let's have a look at the first video of your project.
Robert Emmett has really changed my life 360 degrees, and how I view the city, how I view people around us. Everything sort of changed. My whole outlook on life has changed.
We're operating in an area that would be categorised as being deprived, so there's lots of different needs. What we do, we're not very prescriptive, we're very open. People come in, we do surveys, we ask people what they'd like, we do consultations, we ask people where they see the need, and then based on what feedback we get from the community, we will design programs.
I have a lack of English, a lack of confidence, a lack of, there is no family here. So I feel lonely before, joining like community like this.
I started in Robert Emmett as a tour guide. I was unemployed for a long time, and I was really low on confidence. I had a lot of anxiety.
I did many trainings here, especially for the women. So I did like sewing, I joining one group women, I did computer, I did cookery class, I did many trainings, and that helps me a lot, my confidence getting, high day to day.
I guess part of our philosophy is that we're not just a charity, because charity can only kind of hold a community where it's at, and the community needs to be part of making the change it desires for change to be sustainable.
It was really a long time and a lot of hard work to get used to the bees. I was terrified of them for the first 8 months, but then I was in here one day and I was working with them, and it was really peaceful and really quiet. And then it just all clicked. Working for Robert Emmett has given me self-confidence, self-respect, and I just believe I'm working hard now, whereas I probably didn't see the point of it before.
It's amazing what I did here in Robert Emmett. I had, a lot of happy moments with the women here in Robert Emmett.
Well, that's very impressive, especially overcoming a fear of bees in 8 months. I'm not sure I could do it. Arkadiusz, we're going to have a look, I think, at your video now as well, to set the scene, and then I will come back to you indeed, Austin, to talk to you about your project. But I know that, Arkadiusz, your video is the ESF co-financed Good Support project, which uses digital technologies like software applications for mobile devices to deliver smart and inclusive care services in Poland. And its implementation is involving some sort of innovative partnership, increasing the accessibility of social services through peer-to-peer applications. I'm interested to know in more detail what it's all about, and I'm sure everyone else is as well. So let's take a look at our second video.
Co to jest pomoc sąsiedzka z nową technologią? W każdym domu możemy stworzyć system automatycznego wzywania pomocy i zorganizować sąsiedzkie wsparcie. System składa się z czujnika upadku, który działa bez kamer i mikrofonu, urządzeń do zdalnego monitorowania parametrów życiowych, dzięki którym wiemy, jaki jest puls, ciśnienie, poziom cukru czy prawidłowa jest praca serca. W razie niebezpieczeństwa w domu seniora dopływ wody lub gazu zamknie się sam. To system, w którym sztuczna inteligencja bez przerwy czuwa i w razie potrzeby wzywa pomoc. Ale w dobrym wsparciu najważniejszy jest człowiek. Algorytmy pomagają ustalić komu, gdzie i kiedy trzeba pomóc. Informują także, czy pomoc została rzeczywiście udzielona. Jednak to osoba z najbliższego otoczenia, czyli sąsiad lub ratownik, dostają wezwanie i przychodzą z pomocą. Powiadomienie o sytuacji otrzymuje także rodzina za pośrednictwem aplikacji. Zobacz, jak działa dobre wsparcie. Senior traci przytomność, sąsiad otrzymuje alarm, bo on najszybciej udzieli pomocy. Powiadomienie SOS dostaje też ratownik w telecentrum. Ratownik widzi parametry życiowe seniora i decyduje, czy wezwać pogotowie ratunkowe, czy wystarczy pomoc sąsiedzka. Całą sytuację w swojej aplikacji widzi rodzina seniora, która otrzymuje informacje o zdarzeniu i szczęśliwym zakończeniu. Wszędzie, gdzie mieszkają ludzie potrzebujący pomocy i ich pomocni sąsiedzi, dobre wsparcie jest nieocenione. To nie bajka. Pomoc sąsiedzka z wykorzystaniem nowych technologii jest faktem. To naprawdę działa.
Dobre wsparcie to taki system, w którym najpierw przygotowujemy sąsiadów, a później dajemy im narzędzia cyfrowe, dzięki którym wiedzą, gdzie, komu i jak mają pomóc. Koordynator dzięki temu dostaje automatyczne raporty i informacje, czy wszyscy, którzy potrzebują pomocy, naprawdę jej dostali. I to jest XXI wiek w pomocy społecznej.
Dzięki funkcjonalności systemu Dobre Wsparcie monitorujemy na bieżąco parametry życiowe każdego podopiecznego. Na podstawie ich my, jako ratownicy medyczni, teleopiekunowie, jesteśmy w stanie podjąć decyzję, czy pomocy udzieli sąsiad, opiekun, czy odpowiednie służby ratunkowe.
Jesteśmy bardzo zadowoleni z udziału w projekcie Pomoc na wyciągnięcie ręki. Kiedy tylko potrzebujemy pomocy w opiece nad Olą, możemy liczyć na panią Ewelinę. Ola bardzo polubiła panią Ewelinę.
W projekcie jestem od października zeszłego roku. Chętnie pomagam w opiece nad Olą, odciążając przy tym mamę. Bardzo się polubiłyśmy, lubimy razem chodzić na spacery, robić zakupy, dużo rozmawiamy. Praca z Olą sprawia mi bardzo dużo satysfakcji, a przy tym mogę dorobić sobie do swojego budżetu domowego.
Ja lubię Ewelinę, lubię dochodzić ją na spacery.
Jeżeli chodzi o panią Marzenkę, jest ona moją opiekunką, z której jestem naprawdę bardzo zadowolona. Pomaga mi w wielu sprawach, podjedziemy po zakupy, rozmawiamy bardzo dużo, bo przyjeżdża do mnie kilka razy w tygodniu i czuję się bardzo zaopiekowana ze wszystkich stron.
Well, two fine examples of very different sorts of projects, but I think we can agree the outcomes are leading to this path of social inclusion. Austin, let's start with you and the In Our Shoes walking tours and the B8 projects. They came out of an assessment of the needs of the community and a consultation process. So how did those consultations end up shaping the projects? How important was it that you got these social innovation ideas baked in from the bottom up as you were planning the projects, as they were starting? And what advantages does this approach provide when you're assessing the needs of the community and addressing the needs that you've identified? I'm thinking back to that word cloud and some of the things that came out of it.
First of all, it's just lovely to be here on such a grand stage. It's very different to my day-to-day work. It's very nice, and it's very nice to feel part of, I guess, we work in inner city Dublin. It's nice to feel part of something larger than that and to see Arcadia's project and to see the other kind of social innovation that's out there. So everything we do, I think the video showed that we do lots of little different projects. We have a couple of social enterprises. We have adult education. We have education programs for young people. We have housing. We have several different things. Everything we do would initiate itself in, I guess, an initial needs assessment. So there's different statistics available from things like the census,
the area we operate in would be categorised as deprived. There'd be up to 50% adult male unemployment. There would be as low as 5% of people progressing onto third level education. All of that's there, it's visible for everyone to see. But I think the social innovation piece and the consultation piece becomes important after that, because where there's need, there's money provided to kind of fund that need, but it can be like banging your head against a brick wall where there's money going in and it's doing the same things again and again. And that's where you need social innovation, you need collaboration, and you need new approaches. So for me, the main thing is that the community are involved in the solution. It's not a solution that's, applied to people. They identify, oh yeah, this is our need, and maybe, if we do this, it might work. So I guess we deliver more formal consultations around things like housing or input into city development plans. Our consultation processes around biodiverse social enterprises would have been quite informal. They would have been based on conversations with the different residents associations we support, with local businesses around, okay, there is an issue around employment, but at the same time, there's lots of new jobs in the area. Why is there still a gap? Okay, it turns out that maybe those employment opportunities aren't accessible. Why aren't they accessible? Maybe they're in fancy buildings, maybe they're tech opportunities, maybe they're too low paid and not attractive enough. So initially we would have delivered, interview workshops and CV workshops to give people the confidence, and still those things maybe weren't really working. So what if we do something ourselves? Was the next thing, and then looking at other maybe deficits in the area. There's a real deficit around, say, something like green space. And then the other issue I'd see in the area, and this would really frustrate me because it's a fantastic area. It's how maybe it's reported on in the media, the identity of the area, things are said about it. So we developed in our shoes walking tours, I guess, is a tiny partial solution to all of these problems. And in a consultation, that partial solution would have come out of conversations with the community, with local business owners, and all of that. And then, mapping something like a tour route for that. What's important to people in the area? What places are important? What narratives do people want around the area? And then we would have brought an artist in, and a corporate partner would have supported in, designing maps for it. Our other social enterprise, B8, you saw Anthony there on screen. He's actually in the audience with me there today. It's nice to see Anthony on screen on such a grand stage as well. So with B8, again, it would have been the deficit around green space, and it would have been the deficit around employment. How can we create something that's very accessible? It's employment that'll be available through their local community centre where people already feel welcome. And it also, it meets the deficit around green space. So we got a lease on a formerly derelict plot of land of the Digital Hub Development Agency, who are a state agency based in the area. We would have set that up as our main kind of centre for the beehives. And now we have 60 beehives around the city in various different locations. And we've developed business models. So while we're part funded through cohesion funds, we also have capacity to generate revenue. And I guess if you're generating your own revenue, you have more of an ability, I guess, to design the program and more opportunities to include community and local business in what you want the program to look like. Can you remind me, Jennifer, of the separate parts?
Well, I think you've already identified it. I mean, I was thinking about the advantages of really doing a good, thorough assessment and how you identify those needs when it comes to choosing your projects, as it were. And I must say, I really like the B8. It's addressing environmental concerns as well, and we need to look after bees as well. So it's a win-win, as the Americans would say. Arkaduj, let me ask you about the unmet social needs that you identified in your local community, and what prompted you to embark on this project? I mean, we have 112 numbers, we have, you know, these sorts of things. How was it that you found those groups and identified the best ways to help them? And how then did the project evolve over time? Tell us the evolution of the project.
Hello. Hello. Thank you for the invitation. It's an honor to be here. For me, it's university because I was here 4 years ago, 9th of October 2019, and we won Regiostars.
Good.
That's why the projects, as you know, they have started, developed, and finished when you send the report of financial and meritorical. But in our case, my organization, Science for Environment, projects, they didn't end because we want to make them program to develop. And when it was like, what it is, social innovation, so I thought it's like never-ending story because time goes so fast and so may have many changes, so we have to be prepared. Okay, but about the question, thank you for the question. It became as our personal experience because of one of very important person in our region, father, go to hospital. And he back from the hospital, but he couldn't find assistance very fast and quickly. Part of association of assist him, and the lady have problem because the family have to carry on with him, and also. Everyone want to help him, but they didn't know how because he was out of the system. He wasn't in the hospital, and his hospital didn't teach the families how to care of him. That's why it became a problem with lots of families. They have to face on this kind of help and assistance. That's why we ask people. We try to find solution, and everything starts from the beginning to listening because we have 2 ears and 1 mouth. That's why we will listen people about the problems and. The lady, a very important person in social care services, in politics in our region, she have a problem. That's why she want to make something because it was necessary to do something. That's why she invite us. It was regional center of social policy in our voivodeship, West Pomerania voivodeship. Also, they invite partners, Caritas. It's an organization who care of senior and people with disabilities, with a network of their places. And they invite us, Science for Environment Foundation, because we are some kind of organization out of the box, because we try to find some solution of different problems. And it was something to do and what to do. So first of all, we checked how is experiences of other projects or organization, the pluses and minuses, also what are costs of this kind of help. Also, we try to find trends. What are the trends for social care services and demographic task in this issue? Also, we start to asking people. We make research, but by ourselves. So by talking with people, with main authorities and main stakeholders in our region. So it was family, it was organization, it was municipalities, social care services, and people who work there, mayors. And then we tried to design the tool or innovation, or there was a tool application, and we started to test it. And of course, nothing goes. We thought that when we have first application, we thought, yes, it's the best, and this is the one. But of course, it wasn't like that, because people, when start to testing, they show us what doesn't work as well, what should we change. First, I think it's discussion, find the problem, and different kind of solutions. Nowadays, it was 4 or 5 years ago. The project still going on. Now we have 2,000 neighborhoods who have who are neighborhood assistants. They have we make series of workshops, of trainings, how to carry on young people or seniors, how to do that. We have 300 people who tested our application and portal to be more secure, more function. That's why it's so important to talk with the people and to ask them what's going on and what should be better. Nowadays we have 90. It's 90 update of the system, so it's still going on. What you can see on the screen, it was one of the puzzle of good support, because it's a project of help for your fingertips. That's why we know that program should be on one side very specific and very very domestic for the place where we're doing, but also should be very universal. It have to be universal. That's why we use it, because we saw that this application works well, and when we changed the puzzle in the application, they could help us with other things. As you mentioned about COVID-19, so it helped us to managing of workers, voluntary workers, and to help people which they have to stay at home. When we change language, so it helped us to coordinate voluntary for people who came from Ukraine, where they escaped from the war. So universality of this application, of this program, show us that we are going in good direction, and it's only tool. But the tool, you have to services, you have to updates, and I think the talk and be partner of different organization, institution, it's very important, and find the people who is needed. So it was new technology, personal experiences, and I think that this is important, and it's not only our problem, but problem, I think, for whole Europe.
Well, thank you, Arkadiusz. And I remember the Video Stars Awards because I was the presenter of those awards back in 2019. So it's lovely to see the thread continuing and the work continuing. Adriana, I said I was going to jump back in with you on the odd follow-up question. So I want to ask you rather, since we've got the two practitioners here, what can the EU do at EU level, perhaps through EU cohesion policy, to better support practitioners on the ground?
Well, I think that I already mentioned what we are doing with the European Social Fund Agency, because the community of practices, they are focusing on specific problems, and the identification of the problem is the starting point for any action. So we can help people when they have identified the problem to check and see if a solution has already been found for such a problem. Like the project in Poland, I see it could be applied everywhere. And this is becoming a bigger and bigger problem because of demography. And also because of demography, we need more long-term care. But because of technological development, we can be more efficient in the provision of this long-term care. What the European Union does is, I also mentioned the recommendation on the social economy framework conditions, which will allow small-scale social economy enterprises to be created, which are both employing people, but also helping people. So social economy enterprises are one source of potential employment, and currently it's not, how to say, sometimes it's a surprising figure to mention that there are more than 13 million people already working in Europe in the social economy sector, but the potential is much higher. So there is a lot of possibility to increase employment rates by additional training, requalification of people, providing them the possibility even for part-time jobs when they can have some other obligations, but also increasing participation in the labor market of women and helping at the same time vulnerable people. So it has a double positive effect. We have a lot of positive projects, and these projects here qualify perfectly well as very good projects to be shared and exchanged and be inspiration for others. And what I'm very happy to hear is that these projects are sustainable, that they still continue even after the support of ESF. They will continue. We have the beehives, which is, as you mentioned, by a dual positive side approach, human and environmental. But indeed, what we are doing is to develop the legislation which gives some indications, some framework requirements, minimum requirements setting for all the member states. Member states have the possibility to go beyond what is EU level decision, because in our policy area we are very limited in imposing decisions at EU level. But it's not only about the budget and not about the funding. It is also about having the people on the right place at the right moment and getting the support of the local community, because all these projects usually start bottom up. They start with the identification of a very local problem, getting people who think together, who want to solve the problem, and also involving people in finding the solutions, which is the most precious, I think, result of such activities. I can speak more, but I'll stop.
Well, you've raised a good point there, which is something we're going to come on to as we move into the second part of our discussion, which is about the transferability of the solutions, because it pays to be efficient from every perspective. We don't want people reinventing the same thing over and over and wasting resources if their neighbours have done it already. So it's about that sharing element. The second discussion topic is indeed on the implementation of the Social Innovations Project. So we've talked about how to identify the challenges, but now we want to look at the lessons learned, the long-term impact, and again, that transferability of solutions. So we're going back to Slido. I noticed nobody put any questions in for our first round, but I hope that's because you're saving them for the second round. But to warm us up, once again, we'll have another word cloud, so feel free to scan the QR code there or go to slido.com and put in the hashtag EURegionsWeek. This time we're asking, what do you think is essential for social innovation to be successful? I don't know what I would put in there. I think good leadership, drive, collaboration, skills, all of those things probably important. Austin, what would you put in if you were typing in there?
Collaborate. I know it's the answer for the first one as well, but collaboration. I think, as we said, it's not all about funding at all. It's about having the, I think the kind of framework to do it in and the support. I was really interested. I'd looked into it very briefly, but in Arcadia's program, there's something very similar in Ireland that we didn't design, but we implemented, called a senior alert scheme. But it's not nearly as advanced as what you're doing. And I think having that sort of awareness, you know, to design programs that ultimately, because the need is there, will be delivered anyway, having access to that sort of expertise, and people who've done it already, I think is necessary for social enterprise to be both succeed, but also to be effective.
Go ahead.
Yes, one of the thing was that our friends they go to abroad, lots of people, and their families, mother, fathers, they stay at home. So they wanted to know what's going on. That's why this application helped them to know what to do, and they have circle of neighbors who can help. That's why when you talk about this, I remembered that one of the first point was lots of our friends go abroad to find a job, and lots of seniors and families stay at home. That's why it was so important for us to care of those people, because we know that sometimes they call to us, can you check what is at my home, is everything's okay? That's why we thought about this application that could be very open, and because mobile phones are everything, and technology, then they don't have borders. So yes, and when you put another puzzle, for example, a language, it can be used in Ireland and with Germany, in France. So it's only tool.
And you're using something that people already have. Most people already have a smartphone, so it's not trying to put a cost on.
May I?
Yeah, of course.
Sorry. What do you think is essential for me, and when we talk about it in my foundation and with our partners, I think system, because lots of things, good things, that happen out of the system, and when something is in the system, so it's much more professional, much more wise, or something like that. But if something good we put to the system, then it goes much more effective, much more strong.
Well, I see there strong social policies and people at the absolute center of that word cloud. But I see enthusiasm, commitment, and leadership, passion, authenticity, all coming up again and again. And of course, those are all so related. We're also seeing evidence, visibility, co-creation, ideas, persistence, engagement, all things that, as you say, probably feed in together.
I think it's two very boring things, but if I can add them, a business plan. Yeah. And a feasibility report, just to, I think most social innovation, maybe it's led by personal experience, or it's led by the heart, or it's led by passion or need that's very visible. But it also has to work, and it has to be sustainable. So there needs to be a model that can generate revenue, or there needs to be, there needs to be a structure in place. And sometimes social innovators, that's not within their skill set. So it's like building a team just to make sure that, you have a business plan, and that need you're serving, that you have the means to continue to serve that need into the future.
I love that you're both bringing a very practical note of realism to the passion and energy and creativity side to say, systems and a strong business plan, people, that's how we get things done. Let's have a look at another question for everyone to put their input into, and that is, what is most challenging when implementing social innovation? Is it lack of a business plan? Is it lack of a system? I wonder, is it, certainly doesn't sound like it's lack of commitment. Adina, do you have any thoughts? What do you think might be most challenging?
Well, I think that the idea of social innovation is indeed to test, to develop new methods, new solutions, but then scale these up. And the best is when these decisions, these solutions, these approaches become a policy. And then they become a national, part of a system, part of the national policy. That's the best. I think that slowly politicians will get there, definitely, that we have adopted last year the long-term care strategy, which identifies the forthcoming needs for exactly this type of support. People are aging in Europe. There'll be more and more needs for providing care and long-term care, both for people who are not that old but have some need for different reasons to be staying at home with someone to take care of them, and finding a proper service, a proper carer with a person who knows how to take care of a sick person is a challenge nowadays everywhere in Europe. And how we can make sure that these solutions that have been developed, they work, are becoming part of the national system of care providing is an issue. In this long-term care strategy, we have also identified what should be the working relations for people who are employed in this care sector and so on, how to ensure that they have social protection, because they should be, if they're working, they should get some social protection and so on. I think that the most challenging when implementing social innovation is, okay, measure impact, I can agree. It's good to know, to assess what we have done. But the most challenging is to sustain what has been tested, even if it has not yet become a national policy. Because I'm sure that in majority of the social innovation projects, the ideas are very good. The results prove needed, but to ensure that they're there for a bit longer is a challenge, to keep beyond the funding of the EU budget, that these projects are remaining there and sustained. So good that both projects are doing well.
Well, I see that the first word that came up when someone was typing in was resilience, and I'm sure that is absolutely essential. I see, of course, there's funding, there's sustainability, there's short-term funding and long-term sustainability, all sorts of related. But measuring impact seems to be the biggest one there, which means that more than one or two people have written it in. And Austin, that leads on rather nicely to the question I was going to ask you anyway, which is about the actual impact on the areas, the targeted areas in Dublin that you were looking at. And has there been a shift in the outside perception of those areas as a result of the work carried out by the social enterprises? And how hard is it to measure that impact? Because seemingly that's what a lot of people think is difficult.
Yeah, very good question. So the impact that our social enterprises have, I'd say the primary impact is actually the impact on the area more generally than just the people who engage in the project, just the tour guides and the beekeepers. The impact that you can have on the individuals engaged in the program is always going to be limited, by the size of the program and by the budget. You're only going to be able to impact a couple of dozen people a year, which isn't going to change the system that creates the need in the first place. But I think we've been very lucky with these social enterprises. They're very outward facing. Our tours, we're very lucky to have Commissioner Ferreira on tour a couple of years ago. We've had lots of, dignitaries and I guess decision makers, policy makers on tour, as well as just lots of the general public or lots of tourists. And by the nature of our social enterprise Inner Shoes walking tours, We're training up people from the area to be the tour guides. We're taking our tourists or our customers on tour through parts of Dublin that they generally wouldn't go to. If you've been to Dublin before, you probably you go to the Guinness Storehouse, you might go to Croke Park. There's 3 or 4 spots where people go, but people don't really go into the places in between, and we're located in one of the places in between. So I think our key impact is probably changing the general perception, and then in particular the perception of decision makers about that area, which ties into other projects we deliver as well. So we would do some work around housing, we'd support different residents associations, and we would have done a couple of surveys on housing conditions, and then delivered a consultation around a proposed regeneration project, which based maybe on the quality of that work and the kind of the level of accommodation that was on offer and all of that, a regeneration of one of the flat complexes that we would have surveyed has gone ahead, and ultimately it will be a infrastructure project worth hundreds of millions. But these things, it's one of many places that needed to be regenerated. But by us bringing people on tour through the area, telling the story, humanizing the people that live there, I believe that we have the ability to tip projects in our area kind of over the edge. So people look at them, people are aware of the community, people know the actual people feeling the need. It's not just a statistic anymore. So I'd say that's the real impact of our walking tours. Similar enough to beekeeping. People just love the concept of urban beekeeping, especially in inner city Dublin. At times we also have an after-school project with 160 kids in it. So at times Anthony, who I said is out there in the audience, you'd see Anthony leading a group of 20 kids in beekeeping suits just through the inner city. It's
amazing,
bizarre. It's bizarre to see it, and it's just something that people, don't really expect. So it changes people's perceptions around the area, and also it's enabled us to open up conversations about green space in the area. We recently got a lease on a piece of formerly derelict land that we use as an outdoor classroom to deliver classes from. It's allowed us to engage corporates and businesses in a very constructive way. So they would be our main customer. We have something called a hive hosting model where we will put beehives on their roof because they want a way of supporting the local environment and supporting the community at the same time, but don't really know how to do it. So we'd put hives on their roof, we'd go in, we'd deliver beekeeping classes with them, and as well as the commercial aspect of it, we're opening up, rooftop space in the city that were always there, but just weren't accessible to community groups like ours. And how do you measure it? So I guess there's ways of, qualitative and quantitative ways of doing it, but and we have other projects that we would measure the outcomes in that way. With this, it's like projects getting funding, like the regeneration of Oliver Bond House. It's getting leases on bits of land that we can then use. So that's how we'd measure it.
Arkadyusz, same question to you in terms of what has been the long-term impact, but also in particular, are there any lessons learned from a technological point of view, since that's what you've been doing, how you can take this use of technology and use it to foster social innovation and social integration?
Thank you. Our long-term innovation starts after when we award this registers, and it was 5 minutes of glory and famous, and after that we have to work much harder because everyone asked and wanted to take this. But yes, it show us that that company start to knock to our foundation, and they saw it. And one of them was UBS, huge bank, and they saw our application, and they invite us to share with them, maybe not technology, but they want to help us. So they give us 30 informatics and programists as a voluntary. We fit today CSR, and for a long time they help us with this application, with this program, how to be better with security, and how to manage it to be more useful. So it was not only us. Then some company from Sweden, they help us with new engines to this application. So we start to collect organization, institution, companies who help us because they saw it's good. And they wanted to go with the same direction, or they have something what was important, and we try to figure it out how to put to this application. That's why we develop this application. It's not only telephone, but we put there several devices. For example, Wist brand to when you can send SMS and SOS to rescue team. Also medical station to measure function of living at home. Also artificial intelligence, but not to be part of the family, but to help and to get information that something's going on not well. Also, we put device to the smart homes to how to your house could be more intelligent, not to help you, but put information and the measure of the person who needs assistance. Also, we and our partners create net of rental points for rehabilitation on special equipment. So it don't have to be in whole Poland, but in our region we have several points that you can go and rent some special things. Also local and respite apartments that you can put your father, mother in good hand, and you can rest because what we saw, people who care at home with someone new, very close to him, need to have rest, need to charge batteries. So the place, respite apartments, are very. We have seven in our voivodeship. So we saw they are very important. They are costly, but important. So now we have to find a solution. But it shows us that people are tired. They are very tired when they have to be at home 24 hours,
taking care
all the time. So another thing is partnership with other organizations, institutions. So each of us have our task and do it, but we are going in the same direction. Now, what is important, I think, and I remember just now, that our partners, municipalities, with which we started in 2019, there is 15 50 municipalities, small and bigger. The project end, but they still stay with us. They still stay with us, and they still using the program and facilities. And it shows us that that it's important and very practical, because if something is not practical, so you put it back. Also, the application and system is work well, because now in the system we have more than 1 million hours of work, people who work with it, who help with each other, neighbors, assistant, or social caregivers, because I didn't mention that this is application one for managing of social care services, how to do it easier, quicker, better, faster. And another part, it's application for people who is assistant, or who want to help and who can help, or something like that. That's why after 3 years it still works, and we develop it still in this same direction. And new technology and which we use, we don't want to we know that the application make more strength of people relationship. It's not tool to dehumanizate relation, but it's a tool to make strong relationship between people.
Well, thank you. And you've actually answered one of the questions that we had here. So I'm conscious of time, so I'm going to wrap up with 2 quick questions that have come in on Slido, since I've been encouraging everyone to use it. The first one, Austin, is to you from Ben Hardy, saying that with such acute skills shortages in the EU, especially green skills, could Robert Emmett work with industry to identify skills needed and establish training?
That's a very good question. So we just finished a program called Employment for Life that we ran with Diageo that finished last week. It ran for 6 or 7 weeks. We're based near the Guinness factory in Dublin, so it's a natural fit. But
Diageo, the big international
Diageo,
drinks
the big
company.
International drinks company, whose main brand is Guinness. And they would be one example of companies who would have effectively come to us and said, we know you support people get work and get education. We have skill shortages. We're looking for workers. How can we work together on that? So that's definitely something that we can expand on. You know, in addition to developing our own pathways through the beekeeping and through the walking tours. I guess there's a piece of work, and I mentioned earlier the feasibility report and all of that, to develop the model that could be applied, and to make sure that it isn't just that the work is of a certain level, that it's the reason why, you know, the industry might have these gaps is because the roles are very low paid. So ideally we'd be filling roles that would be slightly higher paid, and facilitating the training of those people. Very good question, Ben.
Yes, especially in the year of skills. A final question, Adriana, I'm going to give you the final word in response to a question from Abdul Latif Bat. Is the ESF also including all diversities, particularly engaging refugees settled in Europe? If you could respond to that and give us your final quick takeaway.
In fact, one of the main objectives of the European Social Fund is the social integration of migrants, refugees in Europe. Because we mentioned the skill shortage, but it's not only skill shortage, it's labor shortages. Nowadays, we don't have enough people physically to train, to upskill and reskill. And we are aware that there are people who need to find a better place for their lives and establish their lives. And European Social Fund has a very strong component on social inclusion, starting from the first receptions with the support of sometimes another fund, Asylum Migration Integration Fund, but also making sure that these people realize their potential, their knowledge, their skills, whatever they have learned, or acquire additional training to be a useful member of the society, helping them with cultural integration, with education, with placing their children in schools, which is a right by itself for every children in Europe, and helping them settle their lives in the European Union. So the European Social Fund, yes, is supporting social integration of refugees in Europe.
It's all the same things that are already at the heart of social innovation.
Yes.
Well, thank you very much for your responses, and thank you for your questions. I do see there was one last question from Joanna asking, what is the biggest obstacle preventing social innovation solutions from becoming mainstream solutions? That is a huge question, Joanna. We don't have time to tackle it on this panel, but I'm sure it's one that the organisers will take note of for future panels, and will really, hopefully, be discussing it on a stage near you soon. So thank you very much to our speakers. A big warm round of applause for them, please. And obviously, all three of you, keep up the good work. I'm just going to give a few final words of housekeeping, because we have got here in this hall in 1 hour's time at 7 p.m. we are going to see another awards ceremony, not the Radio Stars Awards this time, but the Megalizy Niedzielski Prize for Aspiring Journalists. And after that, at 8 o'clock, there's going to be a tasting reception, so you can network and hopefully find more answers to your questions in dialogue with your colleagues. But thank you all so much for joining us today. Thank you for joining us online. Remember to keep sharing beyond these rooms using the hashtag EURegionsWeek. Have a great evening.